There's a website called Chicago Boys, B-O-Y-Z, chicagoboys.net. And hat tip to Instapundit, that's where I found this, and this particular post by Lexington Green. And Lexington Green is basically, though he may not know it, writing about this show and me. What are you talking about? Just stick with me. He writes, this is a conundrum I have been brooding about. Why does the ruling class, using Cadevalia's term, have such strong cultural confidence? And what can be done to undermine it? If I had to pick an ultimate target for activism and action by conservatives, libertarians, Tea Partiers, and common-sense conservatives, he writes, it would be strengthening to diamond hardness the cultural confidence of those who believe in the American way of life, free enterprise, limited government, personal freedom, and nuking out the foundations of the cultural confidence of our opponents. That is, long-term, the most important thing. Many things in the short and medium term have to come first, but that is the long-term goal. John Boyd said that war is waged on the material, intellectual, and moral plane, and the moral plane is the most important. Winning elections would be the material plane. Winning arguments among people who read about and care about policy would be the intellectual plane. But getting people to be proud of the American way of life and making its enemies embarrassed and ashamed to hold their views and to come to despise and mock their own signs and symbols of class solidarity, that would be charring the conflict to a victorious conclusion on the moral plane. We want to do all three, and they are interactive and feed back on each other. But I go back to my initial question, writes Lexington Green. Why does an elite that is actually not admirable in what it does, and not effective or productive, that has added little or nothing of value to the civilized stock, that cannot possibly do the things it claims it can do, that services rent-seekers and the well-connected, that believes in an incoherent mishmash of politically correct platitudes, that is parasitic, have such an elevated view of itself? The old British aristocracy could at least truthfully say that they had physical courage and patriotism and cared for their shires and neighborhoods and served for free as justices of the peace. The old French aristocracy could at least truthfully say it had refinement in manners and a love for art and literature and sophistication and beautiful things. The old Yankee elite could truthfully say that it was enterprising and public-spirited and willing to rough it and do hard work when necessary. But this lot have little or nothing to be proud of, but they are arrogant as hell. Why aren't these people laughed out of the room? Why are people who should know better so desperate to be accepted by this self-appointed ruling class? It seems to me this group is vulnerable to strategic, permanent defeat if the conversation and the spotlight can be relentlessly focused on their deficiencies and the ludicrous nature of much of their behavior and their beliefs. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is why I mock the left. This is why I characterize them for what they are. This is why I give them names and titles. Because I have no respect for these people. None.